What's going on again, y'all? So, wanted to hop on here. I know if you guys have been able to make the day number 2 live, but if you've been able to make the last couple of days, you probably heard us talking about kind of the body working as a full unit and as a full system. I know sometimes that can get lost a little bit because, from even my school, going to school and coaching and all the things is oftentimes we love to compartmentalize and we love to generalize. Just as on aspect of, I think that's what we do as human beings because it makes things simple and that's how our brain works, right? We love to be able to identify of like, no, that's that because that lets me know that I can be certain it's that. And so one of the things that we try to help teach in obviously this program is the fact that your body works as a unit. Literally from the crown of your head to the tip of your toe, everything has to communicate and everything works together. And I want to do a simple exercise that we oftentimes like to utilize to kind of help demonstrate this on a physical standpoint, but I think it helps kind of demonstrate that of like, yet again, if this is happening from a physical standpoint, there's dominoes and things that have to essentially take place in order for this pre and post test we're about to do to give indication. Okay, so what we're gonna do, all right, now I will say on this, you guys, is if you have back pain, have knee pain, have hip, ankle, whatever on there, obviously I'm not there with you. I'm not knowing what's going on. So if you are having issues and you need to consult with somebody, by all means consult with somebody. But if you are active, and especially if you are active and you are somebody who may consistently or chronically experiences foot, ankle, hip, knee, low back, shoulder, neck, because yet again, what we're about to demonstrate will hopefully help you see how the body works as a whole and as everything is connected. But essentially, if you are having those issues, this might be something that you can incorporate on a day-to-day basis, especially what we see a lot of times is ankle, knee, hip, low back discomfort. So what we're gonna do, all right, I'm gonna stand on up, okay? What I'm gonna do here, okay, so I have 2 different devices, all right? I have a lacrosse ball. If you have a tennis ball, a baseball, any sort of round object, but I also have what we call the log. You can use a PVC pipe. Some of you guys, if you have a barbell, you can use a dumbbell. Just essentially what we're gonna do is we're going to give your feet some love here in a second, just to kind of see what's going on through there, okay? But what I'm gonna do, all right, so essentially before I do those things, okay, before I do what I'm gonna use with these 2 objects, is essentially I'm gonna start. Now, we usually use this as an assessment. Those that I've been lucky enough to work one-on-one with, you probably recognize this drill, but essentially this is an assessment we like to do. Kind of the same thing we do on a nutritional basis is, we assess, we don't guess, and just throw stuff on the wall. We kind of see exactly, yet again, what the root cause of things going on. So what I'm gonna do, all right, so essentially I'm gonna take my feet about hip width apart, okay? So hip width apart essentially is I'm taking my heels, split my butt cheeks in half, okay? From this position, I'm just going to essentially forward fold. So keep my legs relatively straight. I'm simply going to forward fold and reach down as far as I can, okay? Now this isn't necessarily a pass or fail test, all right? Now all I'm trying to do is just reach forward, see what I can grab. Right now I'm feeling pretty good about myself. I can actually touch my toes, but I can also feel my low back, my hamstrings a little bit behind my calves are a little bit tight right now, okay? So I'm gonna take note. If you're following along with this thing and you wanna participate, by all means do so, but yet again, if you have limitations, listen to your body. It's not a pass or fail of like, well, I wanna see if I can touch the ground today. If you got limitations and we get to your knees, that's where we're at right now, okay? So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna take one of the objects. I'm gonna use the lacrosse ball here, okay? So literally what I'm gonna do, I'm going to literally stand on this and roll out the bottom of my feet, all right? So one of the things that I see get misplaced a lot, and especially in the running community, the strength and conditioning community, the sports field and court community, is oftentimes the misunderstanding of how important the foot and your feet are. So your feet are essentially the eyeballs for your lower extremity and essentially for your body. Right, like you can see things upstairs because your eyeballs, but your feet do essentially the same thing down below. There's over 3,000 nerve endings in your feet. There's 4 layers of muscle. There's 32 ligaments and tendons. There's all kinds of things that connect and make up the foot. Now, what oftentimes happens because of the footwear we wear, we don't get around on our foot, we do all kinds of different activities, and our feet get really, really mashed down, and all those nerve endings and everything else get really, really sandwiched together. Well, the issue with that is, especially if I'm a walker, I'm a runner, I'm an active person, whatever that may be, is all that sensation, all those sensory things, and especially the foot is designed to be a stable platform. Well, if my foot's not a stable platform, my body isn't going to be worried about can I run, can I jump, can I go play. It's going to be worried if I don't want to fall over and hurt myself. So what it does is it starts to look for essentially stability somewhere else. And the body is stacked essentially it's a joint by joint concept that was made popular by Gary Cook and Mike Boyle. And so if you're familiar with them, they're basically, Dr. Cook is kind of like the back specialist. He's like world renowned, the person to discuss any sort of back discomfort in any regards. And so basically they formed the joint by joint concept and found that the body is basically a stable joint stacked on top of a mobile, and so on and so forth. And so if your foot's not stable, it's going to go look for it in the ankle. Well, the ankle is meant to be mobile. It's not going to find it there, so it goes to searching for the knee. Oftentimes it's not going to search it for the knee because that oftentimes means the hip's unstable, and we get kind of this odd, long, like bad gait position and everything else with the knee. And so by giving the foot a little bit of love and maybe a little bit of, right now I've got some spots with a little bit discomfort on there, I can find some spot and I can open up that tissue and give me more surface area, right? Like the part that I always like to kind of use as an explanation is if I was going to hop up on my hands and start walking on my hands, what would be a more stable surface? My hands that look like essentially penguin flippers, or my hands that are out, splayed out nice and long, and I can touch more surface area. Well, that's the same thing goes for your feet. And so it's been about a minute. I'm gonna, typically I do the other side. I want to give the other one about a minute to 90 seconds, kind of see what's going on through there. But just to kind of keep the video kind of short here, I'll go through that. So I'm gonna dish that off. Okay, what I'd recommend on this, you guys, if you're following along, give yourself about another minute or 90 seconds on the other foot. Okay, and then from there, I'm gonna reassess. I'm gonna take my feet underneath my hips. I'm gonna forward fold. And lo and behold, now I can almost get essentially my palms to the floor. All right, now obviously you guys have been following along through this. I didn't stretch my hamstrings, I didn't stretch my low back, I didn't do any essentially flexibility or mobility work. All I did was essentially roll out the bottom of my foot. Why now? How did I gain more range of motion by simply rolling out the bottom of my foot? Because the body is all connected. Right? Like for so many people, oftentimes what we see is, no matter how much flexibility I work on, no matter how much mobility I work on, I just can't seem to get the improvement. Well, perhaps you're not working the area of limitation, right? Like as you can see, I just gained more range of motion by rolling out the bottom of my feet. Perhaps my lacking range of motion, yes, I felt it in my low back, yes, I felt it a little bit in my hamstrings, but because everything is connected, it might be another limiting factor at the end of that rope, right? So like if I'm at one side of the rope and on the other, and I'm just looking at essentially my low back and hamstring on here, but I'm not addressing the end part of the rope over here, by addressing the end rope over here, it opens up all of this at the same time. And so when we're looking at this, you guys, is how else does this work in your life on a nourishment basis, right? Like if I all of a sudden start drinking more water, is that going to improve other elements of my nourishment? If I all of a sudden start incorporating maybe a little bit more lemon juice or salt in there, perhaps my cravings for carbohydrates will go down, right? Like, so it's not just looking at things through like a little peephole, it's being able to see kind of the broad spectrum and really understand that the body works as a full unit and as a full system. It's not subject to, one isolated thing. It's usually the cascading of events that usually takes place, and especially when we're talking about pain is usually like the last domino to fall in the cascading events that started that. And so I highly recommend this just on the basis of like, for a lot of you guys that are runners, rowers, you're on your feet a lot, you're at your desk, we wear really tightly confined shoes, is give your feet some love. I promise if you give your foot some love, you'll probably notice some pretty quick differences in not only your movement, but also your posture, your potential, like I said, knee, ankle, foot dysfunctions that may be going on through there. If you have questions, love to hear your thoughts on this. I know this is one thing that we haven't been able to tackle in this group yet, is a lot of the underlying things that we experience is, people, avid exercisers and trainings and all those things. So yeah, would love to hear your thoughts. Phyllis, I appreciate the sentiments on there. Let's see here, the crossball or... Perfect. Aaron, I love the fact that you got the staple hold of a lacrosse ball rolling out the body. And for some of you guys who don't have a lacrosse ball, like literally we've had people use like a rolling pin. I mean, anything that you can give yourself. I mean, we're all about self-love around here, right? So, incorporate this as part of like your normal daily regimen of giving yourself not only some time, we're working on some breath work videos, but also at the same time frame there, you guys, allow those tissues that you just kind of beat up on, give them some love and give them the ability to recover and recuperate. So, like I said, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts. Love to hear if you guys have more questions. But try it out. See if you see a difference. Roll out your feet. See if you can get more range of motion and kind of maybe see that the whole body works as a unit. So, appreciate y'all. Have a good afternoon and take care.